BDM and the host of the Follow the Brand podcast and TV show. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome you to this panel on how Web3 can improve equality, inclusivity, humanity, and digital empathy. As we move towards a more digitized world, it is crucial that we consider how technology can benefit everyone, regardless of their gender, race, or social status. Web3 has the potential to make our digital world more equitable and inclusive, and to bring humanity and digital empathy to the forefront of our interactions online. This panel brings together experts from a range of fields, including technology, social justice, and NFT futurists, to explore the potential of Web3 in promoting these values. We will examine the ways in which Web3 can create a more level playing field, ensure equal access to opportunities, and foster a greater sense of empathy and understanding in our digital interactions. We hope that this discussion will shed light on the ways in which technology can be harnessed for the greater good and inspire us all to consider how we can use our skills and resources to make the digital world a more equal and inclusive place. So, I invite our esteemed panelists to share their insights and experiences with us and to engage in a lively and thought provoking conversation on this important topic. So first, let's introduce our panelists, right? So, Max, would you like to introduce yourself? And I would like, first of all, I would like to state this will be an interactive discussion, more free flowing style. We're going to state some questions, but anyone can answer, and we can feed off each other as we go throughout the hour. So, I'd like you to introduce yourself and state who you are and what problem that you solve in your particular area of expertise. So, you like to kick us off, Max?
Sure. Thanks, Grant. Hi, I'm Max Noir. I wear many hats, but most in the Web3 industry know me for community management. So I've been managing communities in the space for over 6 years now. But I would say where most of my passion lies is in technological accessibility. So for the past 2 years, I've been working in Uganda with the local government and local musicians and also some international partners to try to basically build the Web3 and XR ecosystem almost from the ground up, which has been exceptionally difficult. Um, but yeah, I'm of the belief that when you add the most modern technologies to a place that is kind of lacking those, then you kind of have an opportunity to help level the playing field a little bit. So that's what I'm passionate about, and I guess that kind of melds pretty heavily into our discussion today and what we're going to be talking about. So yeah, great to be here.
Welcome. Welcome to the panel. Thank you for sharing. I'd like to introduce Zeta. Zeta, you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us the skill set that you use to solve problems in your field.
Hi, thank you so much, Grant. I appreciate the introduction. This is an esteemed panel. I'm Zeta Beasley. I am the CEO of Zeta. And what we do, bridge equal exclusivity, promote digital is started ago. And so some of the work that we do today includes offering clients an opportunity to do their systems, an ideal of technology promotes empathy. And what I mean by that, I mean through algorithm, through logic, we're capability to have to show empathy. Some of the work that we includes all the media and movie data, don't need pictures, entertainment, cloud via an architecture most immersive, like movies, like some of the other. We rolled out education and all that in the DC Maryland, and we rewrote, allowed students to immerse themselves, augment AR reality, if you for learning and for digital transformation when things like a pandemic, school closure, or occurs, been ready. So in the past, many opportunities to the way we live today. For the commercial side, I've launched 3 that have in application systems that have and but word that we use collecting data, but it uses data to interface with you or your location determine in your destination.
So Zeta,
Have
one
revolutionized.
moment. Zeta, your audio is clipping out for some reason. It might be possible where we might
Oh,
ask you to jump out of the application and jump back in. Sometimes that'll clear it up, and that's those so you're coming across clear. All right. While she does
okay.
that, we're going to introduce. I think she was just there. Yeah. Is that there? You are, Benita. Can you hear me?
Hi,
How are you?
I'm doing good. Am I audible?
Yes. Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome, awesome.
We like to for you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and the problem that you're solving with your expertise.
I'm sorry, I'm just trying to adjust the camera. Is it perfect?
Yeah, I can see you clearly.
Okay, great. So thank you so much, and a warm welcome to all my panelists and all my wonderful friends from India. And first of all, let me wish you all a very happy Holi, which is the festival of colors, which is coming up. And as India celebrates its cultural diversity, I feel Web3 is such a beautiful milestone that has given us opportunities to create harmony among culturally diverse uh, planet. So I find it is like a pot boiler, and it's like a melting pot of cultures here. And with my kind of organization, I'm presently working on the educational sector related to Web3, and I'm trying to bring in a lot of awareness among people on the practical applications, the real life use cases of Web3.
Awesome. 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 Listen to you. That's wonderful. And so we're going to introduce our another panelist. She is there. Alicia, you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, with pleasure. So welcome everyone to the fire chat. You see, I have it there. So my name is Alessia. I'm here as a part of Web3 Stronger Together Summit team. But what brings me here to this fire chat is the other part. As I love Max that you mentioned about different hats on hats. So I have another one, which is Ukrainian Sisters Foundation. It's a charitable organization for women, and I'm so excited to be now on the topic of inclusivity, humanity, with the women speaking about the Web3. This is one of the thing which is important for me. And the another part is how to create this bridge, the technology bridge in the habits, in the patterns that women do in their daily life to bring them in a Web3 environment. For me also as a co-founder for the foundation to be able to help them through the technology way and through the opportunities that we have now using blockchain, transparency, and all the benefits and advantages for the DAO operational, for the non-profits, and not only. So there is a few dimensions for each of the words which is announced in a fire chat as a humanity, inclusivity, beyond the words, like to any word I could say, like I'm the part of it now, and I would love to be the voice of it now. So thank you so much.
No, that I love how you just said that, the voice of it, the voice of this new technological platform. And as we move forward, I am honored to have each and every one of you to speak on this panel and talk about, and we're really talking about inclusivity. Technology has been around for a very, very long time, but we have seen that it has been in the hands of the very few. And as be very candid, you see it in mostly in the white male dominated tech field. But there's so many people that are interested in this technology, and in many countries, whether it's in Europe or America or it's in Asia and Africa and all the different continents, it touches all of us. This platform now has an opportunity to which we can have a voice, that we can put something in this particular construct that we can all appreciate. Because if it's not totally inclusive, as we've seen with other technologies, it leaves people behind, and then you're not represented, and then you can't get the best out of what the platform can give. So my question is this: how do you feel about this opportunity right now? And what are you doing to drive it into a different area when you think about Web 2, 2.0, and Web 3.0? What are you passionate about making a change? Who would like to answer that question?
I'll answer.
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay, fantastic. So, what is, or we know that the technology today, what the brand is human empathy. That's what's missing, right? We're unfortunately losing the ability to care and be genuine with. And so, because of the internet, we have an amazing opportunity to create that will future of the way interface with one another, the way the machine enters data and predicts, but also right. And so, if we're providing more responses to be more human, we're online to in our business, right? As technologists, think about experience.
Hmm.
People really don't until they know care, and can't really move to with the way this experiences so far to Web 3, understand the pain points are, where they are, and so our lens from 300 is the lack of passion in tech.
Well, Zeta, we're picking up parts of your, and I love what you're talking about. We still have some choppiness from your internet connection, but I want to tee on what you were saying about caring more. That we now have a platform that we can actually have a little bit more control over. I want to talk to Vanita, what you've been doing. How do you see an impact that you can make now in Web.3 from an inclusivity standpoint, a humanitarian standpoint, that you could not do in Web 2.0?
First of all, I feel Web3 has given us, all of us, an opportunity to become true humans in the truest sense of the word. Because so far we've been claiming to be humans, but now we can actually exude what humanity truly can be. So I believe in the metaverse we are all avatars. First of all, there is no racism, no hatred, no violence, and no amount of discrimination in the metaverse. So, in the first stage, we are eliminating everything. We are all our best form of avatars, and we can interact with each other. There are no geographical limits or boundaries. So, I feel in that sense, Web3 can give us us a very, very inclusive oneness where we can feel this entire planet is our own home. And we are all like one big family. And that way we can all celebrate different cultures, different communities, and polarization can be totally avoided. Because I'll tell you, there's a very, very important factor of Web2, which is creating a lot of differences between different cultures and different religions. As we know, algorithm is something that can create a lot of content which we usually serve. So suppose if I'm African person and I'm surfing content on Africa, so I will always get content which is pro-African and anti-white. On the other hand, if I'm a white person and I'm surfing content which is very pro-white, I will be in my algorithm, which is all the social medias. As we all know that social media is controlled by none other than a few monopolistic giants, and they all believe in algorithms. So basically, it's the artificial intelligence. It is the way we search, that the same way our search history is picked up, and we are given similar kind of content in our news feeds. As a result, if we have generated an opinion in our entire lifetime due to Web2, we will never get to change that opinion. We will never find out what the reality is, what the truth is, because we will always get same type of content, and that is going to polarize. Let's say if you are of a particular religion, if you believe in, let's say, Christianity, and there could be anti-Semitic content which will come and float in front of you. And if you're a Jew, there would be anti-Christian content which would be floating, and you will be completely polarized. And the same way it happens with Hindus and Muslims, and so much of hate is propagated in social media in Web2. I believe due to Web3, there could be a cultural revolution. Humans can finally become human, and casting aside all kinds of religious and racist bar and mindsets, and they can actually evolve to be true human beings and show compassion towards each other. And that way, I feel inclusivity can actually find a true meaning. Simultaneously, I believe in education for all, and that's why through my organization, I'm developing curatable content, which is um, something to do with a very, very globalized language. So we can actually have content which can be transcribed and translated in different languages. And education can be actually inclusive and free for all without any gender bias, any racial bias. So that way, I feel Web3 is quite a revolution.
That would be ideal. Utopian in practice. But we all know that our society has been wrought with a lot of, we just focusing a lot more on too many negative uh, um, topics. I had a conversation with somebody recently. They were talking about the news feed, the news that comes out, not only just on social media, but also on the channel. But we're focusing on 3% of the population that had, a major problem. 97% of the of people on a daily basis are not experiencing, some super negative experience. But we don't focus on that. I want to talk to Max and how, because she's in a unique situation in what she's doing. Help us understand how you feel that from a social impact statement, how Web 3.0 will liberate us possibly from some of these restrictions.
Can you clarify on which restrictions you're referring to? Are you referring to what Vanita was kind of addressing?
Yeah, from a Web 2.0 algorithm, AI construct where we're being fed really negative information, whether we're tuning into that or not, is just kind of floating out there. How will Web 3 kind of change that scope? And what do you see as the future?
Yeah, that's interesting. I would say I have thoughts on this that go both directions. I don't know if I'm exactly as positive about it as Vanita is, which I think is great. But I do have my excitements, but also my worries about everything. I would say I do agree that Web3 and metaverse, it has a lot of potential to kind of um, well, it removes borders in a way. And I've talked before about how there's a big difference between like a group of people who are watching a 2D movie and having an experience, and maybe it's heavily emotional. But if you put them inside of the movie and they feel like they're in the movie and they're part of it, they're going to connect it with it on a much deeper level, um, on actually a neurological level. So that's where the empathy comes in. And I think it's a very, very powerful tool. And when we look at Web 2 and social media and how that's kind of blown up, the shareability of content is one of the biggest parts of the modern age. But now the content that we're able to share can be much more empathetically tied to us and much more immersive. So, there's pros and cons to that, because the beautiful part is, for example, someone, on my team in Uganda could make a Snapchat filter with something that they wear at their home tribe in northern Uganda, and they can share it with somebody in XYZ country. And when you put that on, it's kind of like you're associating more heavily than just looking at an image on Google image search or in a museum, XYZ. But I also want to argue the contrary. You know, technology is always about who's building the technology. So you have people who are going to build things that are working towards decreasing polarization, but then you're also going to have people who are building to like heavily increase polarization, because they understand the empathetic ties to Web3 technologies and the potential there. So that's kind of the dark side, and I think we should also kind of talk about that a bit. Really just depends on who's involved, right? And this is the point in time where we have the most control and power over the emotions that get tied to shareable content, which is why it's of the utmost importance that good human beings who are, waking up every day and saying, I'm going to improve myself as a human every single day of my life and learn and research and understand things better than I did yesterday. Those are the people that we need creating the contents.
And what you're saying there is so important. I truly believe that technology is agnostic, meaning I've been in technology, information technology for 20, 25 years. A machine is a machine. It's only as good as is put into it. It's programmed, right? Now you can slight the programming for this way or that way to create certain biases, and that's what we're talking about in Web 2.0. Web 3.0, again, we're taking away some of the biases, but you're still dealing with people. And as people, we have to look at ourselves and ask the question, am I more positive in thought and emotion and action, or more negative? Am I more exclusive, or am I more inclusive? Am I more about my own influence, or am I more about influencing groups and worlds in a more positive construct? So it still comes down to a foundational human element of our mindset, our awareness, and our consciousness. I like Alicia. How do you feel about that? What do you think about what I'm talking about, what we're talking about?
Yeah, I feel like this transition to Web3 sometimes is happening so fast that we are still missing the people who are not even in the Web2 yet. I mean, so how we could speak about the inclusivity if we are missing some part of the humanity, the same from the part of Web3 Stronger Together organization. I think the most important quality whenever you're saying about the being inclusive is the patience, because we've had a lot of tasks from the speaker, projects, attendees, like how to receive the NFT ticket, from the very beginning. So, and if we wouldn't answer any question to that, like what I was saying and what I was stand on, we couldn't say we are inclusive if we are not taking care for any person who is asking the same fucking question, even if you can send a link and said like, okay, it's you can find it, go and Google it, but people, they are so strong in their patterns, in their habits, that sometimes, whenever I hear like inclusivity, if to say from the psychological perspective, this is the most trigger word for me, because I couldn't say for the projects and for the people, for the Web3, they are inclusive because they exclude someone, at least who is not on their board, because they didn't care about them to be onboarded. So this is like, for me, the most important part for the Web3 Stronger Together. This is the important part, that they take care about the women which is in the foundation. I don't know, I'm not a god for sure, but I want to do my best to include everyone that I could include. So this is the way, and I'm passionate about the technologies. But whenever I see like some people, they even couldn't use the Google Drive for even 20% of the capability of it, just to improve their work, just to make it easier to collaborate, to do so. The blockchain giving us amazing tools to create the DAO itself. It's it's my dream life, to create organizations that would give the full transparency, what are we doing, but still to onboard their people. Even to make a vote, it would take some time, and we could say like we are educate the market, we could say like we put there all our passion, but if we do not answer on a very simple question on the Twitter messages, which someone hide in a boxes, we couldn't say we include them, so this is my invitation for everyone, just to pay attention to small pieces of the whole picture. Maybe then we could say we are there.
We got a long way to go, because there's censorship, things like that, and we haven't been intentionality of making sure as we move from, and I love how you brought up that point, we're on this physical world, but how many people have really been participating in the digital revolution that's been taking place for the last 20 years? Some people do not have connectivity and know-how, just basic computer skills and knowledge to know how to participate. And I want to ask Zeta, and Zeta, hopefully your sound is good, because I know you got so much to say, and we want to hear this. Well, you're taking this in. Tell us what you're thinking.
Yeah, I am. Can you hear me better now? Please tell me you can hear me. You can? Yes.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, wow, I have so much to say. I want to just comment on Alicia's statement. What I've noticed about Web3 is there are these exclusive groups that send you invitations, and only some people are allowed to join based on their demographic and where they're located. I'm noticing even the gaming community that you only are a part of the game community if you have a login, if you have this. So I'm starting to see the if you will, the bricks of Web2 formulating in Web3. And the concern here is those who are leading this charge are not on this panel. That demographic is missing from this panel. And because they're missing, it sends a message to us that this is still going to be somewhat of uphill battle, right? It's like we have to show through example of what we're talking about.
Yeah, Zeta, we're still having a problem hearing you. It's just too much delay, unfortunately. And I know you got a lot to say, man. I mean, can you put it into the chat if you don't mind? Just write it into the chat because we got to talk about these things that you're bringing up. It's important.
Can I just say, I think maybe Zeta can try removing your headphones. I think it might be headphones and not connection related, but I'm not positive. Worth a shot.
There you go. That's a nice.
Can you guys see that now? I'm talking through the screen.
We did.
No?
Keep going. It's just a clipping. It's some delays, but keep talking.
You guys able to hear me now? I'm so sorry for the sound and technical issues. I do have an awful lot to say.
Let's try one more
better?
thing. Turn off the video and we will see if it works.
Yes, there you go.
Right there.
Go ahead and
Can you hear me now?
say a sentence. We'll see how it's working.
I'm going to get now. Better?
I guess it's the internet.
Yeah, it's our internet connection. Yeah, it's still delayed. So sorry. Why don't we introduce Fanzo as we work through this? But I would like to get your thoughts. If you know, at worst case scenario, please put them into the chat so we can get your thoughts and then have a conversation around it. Fanzo, I see you joined. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, can you hear me okay, hopefully?
Yeah.
And yeah, sorry, time zones got a little messed up, so I was on another call that I was presenting on. But yeah, I'm excited to be here, part of the conversation. You know, I'm a digital futurist, keynote speaker. It's kind of my full-time gig. Also host of the NFT 365 podcast, which is the first daily podcast in the NFT space. We did 365 episodes in 365 days. I also bought an NFT every single day for that year. And then I'm also an AI artist. So I create art on mostly around ADHD and education around removing biases and stigmas around ADHD, as I was diagnosed 10 years ago. And I have a daughter that was also diagnosed. So focus a lot on, you know, Web3 and really, you know, my main focus as a speaker and a futurist and a podcaster is helping people find the humanity between technology and really humanity, right? Where's the harmony between these two? And I'm an early adopter on a lot of technology. Actually, the platform we're using right now, Restream, I was their very first beta user that they ever had in existence. When they were coming out of beta, they actually helped them kind of roll out and test some things on it. So for me, I love testing and pushing the limits and then hopefully helping, you know, brands and audiences find that harmony between technology and humanity.
Well, since you're late, we got to put you on the hook, right?
Bring it on.
So we've been talking about inclusivity and humanity and how Web 3.0 could be a new playing field. So get away from some of the censorship and being a little bit more intentional about including all of humanity and all its different variations. How do you see, now that's the goal, right? We're not obviously not there yet. How do you see, you're a futurist, tell us your crystal ball. How are you looking at how this is going to be different from the Web 2.0 world to the Web 3.0?
Sure. No, I mean, I love that narrative, right? And we have a long way to go. I think we have to definitely level set that we are not anywhere close to being there. And that comes from, you know, I think one of the beauties that we talk about with Web3 is the power of community. But we also have to recognize for community to be valuable and powerful, we have to balance the need to be inclusive, but also the idea of exclusivity so that there's value for those that are ownerships and holding. And to me, that's a beautiful kind of combination, but we can truthfully probably all admit that's extremely hard, especially in a digital world. I think we've all probably been a part of great Facebook groups that early on a Facebook group was very inclusive and everyone felt like they had a voice and it wasn't spammy and everyone got to know each other. But then as the group scaled, as there was more people, all of a sudden it just became a little bit too hard to manage and became a little bit disconnected. And so the native community growth concepts are still something here in Web3 that we have to overcome. but a lot of the limitations and a lot of the mess that we put ourselves into in Web 2 was that we early on did not really value our data or information. If you think about it, we were willing to say, if we're not paying for this platform, sure, you can use our data, right? The Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and all of that was like allowed us to use these platforms for free. But in many ways, then they added algorithms and they changed, and they got to decide who gets to see things, when things are shown, and we gave up all of that control. And so the question became, how do we take back control? And yes, we could probably all just agree to stop using Instagram or all using Facebook, but let's also realize that we don't really agree on everything or anything. I mean, I live in Washington, D.C. I can tell you this area definitely does not agree on just about anything at all. And so the question became, how do we take back control? How do we shift this narrative and remove borders and allow individual owners to control? And so I look at the future being that we are going to opt into things as users, and we are going to remove the power from central entities or central control mechanisms, right? As far as censorship or who gets to see things when. But to do that, there's a lot of things that we have to take back, right? And that starts with like ownership of our assets and the idea that we have our wallets where things aren't stored in a centralized location. But there is kind of a balance that we have to get to where decentralized is great, but not everything can be or should be or will be decentralized just because of a lot of the functionality and things that we're normally used to. So I think where Web3 is the answer. I think blockchain is the solution, but we have like barely tapped in to what blockchain can offer. I would argue we're less than 1% utilizing like what blockchain can really offer. And that includes things like, how do we get those that currently don't have a voice, or how do we bring this technology and allow the barriers to entry to be removed? Because the barriers to entry in Web 2 just made the rich get richer and allow the privilege, especially like myself, the cis white males, to continue to kind of be the ones that were on that edge. And I think we have to reset that boundary. And a lot of that comes down to taking leadership roles on making sure that not only are different voices heard, but that we don't allow any one group, any one platform to control who says what or where things are going. So we have a long way to go, but I do believe Web3 is the answer with blockchain technology to take back some of the control that we gave up without really understanding what we were truly giving up.
Very interesting thoughts. I want to hear from our panel. Anybody want to chime in on what he just talked about? Anybody have either you're congruent with that view, or you like to add to that view, or you see a different alternative reality?
Well, I'd like to add to that view. I really feel like how blockchain today has been used in certain spectrum, and there is so much of potential of a blockchain which is yet to be explored. Like imagine blockchain helping out in the elections, blockchain helping out all of us to pick the right leaders, blockchain helping us to sort out our records in the right record, in the government, in the private sector. So everything is streamlined, everything is clear, and everything is transparent. So blockchain is all about transparency, and how we apply them in various sectors is basically something that we could add to. Also, as there was a mention of Web3 sorting out the problems of Web2, and we have the power of ownership thanks to the NFT revolution. I also have a point to make that look, Web3 is fueled by all the VCs. And these VCs are the main players when it comes to Web3. And they have all the power, they have all the money, and they have everything. They are the decision makers. How Web2 was polarized, there could be a lot of polarizations in terms of Web3 as well, because half of these platforms are actually funded and fueled by the same house of VCs who are actually in various different kinds of sectors. And so we have to kind of beat up these whales by creating a consortium of honest thinkers, right leaders, holistic thinkers who could come together and make this world a better place. Because otherwise, what happens is, I'm a VC, I'm going to put my money in different boxes. and I'm going to fund all these different web platforms, and ultimately it is my money, so my decision becomes the ultimate decision. So polarization can still become a threat in Web3. So here is a
Oh, she jump off? Like she jumped off. Max, you like to chime in?
I'm good on this one. I wanted to try to give Zeta space and see if we can get her on now.
Go ahead.
You hear me now?
Yes.
Is it a little? Okay. Well, thanks for looking out. I appreciate you, Mo, community member. I have so much to add to what Fanzo said. I think it's in the right demographic have this conversation that Fanzo joined us today. We understand that we're using, unfortunately, same building blocks that you to formulate web to stop, right? Because right direction, we're still promoting ideology. If we are having these conversations and express the concern of advising on design just on their standards, right? But there's still a graphic of folks being left behind, and it's not happening in the right demographic, white male, Asian, like that demographic. It would be helpful if more males and more interested and concerned about space as we move forward. What I'm seeing is in the game communities, I'm noticing that a little bit of segregation, right? You only can unless you if you have a login. And then there are other platforms that only want certain members, and seeing these online clicks that members can participate. Then if you think about the way we are now, the polarization, the division, right? That the machine learning is, right? Literally data from humans and their so the interface or the output is AI. And what we're seeing is there have become embedded. We rethink what we're doing, right? As a human being. First, we need to go back to the fundamental human to one another, being less polarized, having more respect and more. If you have folks in power, i.e., money, venture cap, certain, or investors or lives, and they want to fund just that, then if I guess tracking, so they would see the need of creating a more empathetic a world of equality. And the reason why I'm saying the demographic that really conversation is great that we are, but we always talking about this because experiencing the biases. So we're always having the conversation. Hey, over here, look at what we're dealing with. Is look how it's affecting us, and everyone's like, right? And so we only let our voices be heard, but to the spaces where design standards made to put into action the solution to problems within Web3.
This is, and I'm going to talk about this because there's one of the things that I see. Again, I've been in technology 25 years, is that you have to have a robust infrastructure platform to have a continuous real-time experience. I come from the voice world. If you don't have that layer that is secure and robust and ubiquitous on a worldwide scale, you will not be able to scale. Web 3.0, as you start looking at in the metaverse, it's an even greater bandwidth user. So it's going to be a struggle. You talked about, or people were talking about earlier about venture capitalists and the VC money and investments that need to be made, because across the world, infrastructure is a big problem. So what does that mean? That means accessibility. What is your accessibility to be able to, number one, become familiar with this type of technology and the use case? What can I use it for? People are like, oh, Web3, that's great, but what can you do differently? Even if you weren't even exposed to, someone said earlier about Web 2.0. Hey, you know what? I don't even know what Web 2.0 is. I don't build websites. I'm not doing a lot of interaction. I'm shied away from social media. I don't even get involved with that. But what I'm really talking about is computer skills. How the computer literacy from a planet standpoint, what does that really look like from a percentage? And are we really designing for more computer literacy as well as more infrastructure that can be actually built to support a virtual world that we're building out now? Like, I know, Fanzo, you do a lot with NFTs. A lot of people don't really understand the value of what is that like. I mean, I can barely understand the concept. So when you're looking at, smaller groups of people that maybe get it, and then others that don't, and then some people in those groups, they take advantage of people that don't, and then you're starting to recreate that wheel again. Like, all the things that we're trying to get away from, we haven't. It's like, oh man, we just redid it all over again, because we were not focusing on like computer literacy and making sure that we have equal access to platforms. So I know we've got a few minutes left. I want everyone to chime in on that. Take some minutes.
Yeah. I can start. So yeah, that's an interesting one. I kind of want to share a little story from a conversation I had yesterday. I think it's really relevant. I was talking to my friend in Nigeria, and he was sharing with me about how Meta is donating a ton of headsets to schools around America to kind of improve the access to metaverse technology. But their efforts in Africa, they're just donating like mobile phones for mobile XR experiences. And he was kind of like annoyed about that. He was like, like, we want headsets here too. We don't want phones. But then earlier we kind of talked about how, we're here at Web3, but some people haven't even really arrived yet at Web2. So this story that was shared with me kind of provoked a lot of questions in my mind, because I was like, is it better in certain places where there hasn't been a lot of computer literacy or access to certain corners of technology? Do we kind of skip to the most modern options, or do we need to go from, point A to point Z? What I think is really cool about some of the new like metaverse softwares that are coming out now is that they're very little code necessary. A lot of these platforms are like the code's built in, and it's a lot of like drag and drop. It's really accessible. So I don't know exactly where I land in this question that I just posed, but probably somewhere in the middle. I do think it's important that like there are certain levels of computer literacy that must be met. I don't know which ones. It's kind of a lot. But I do think it's cool that some of the modern softwares are just really accessible, and the things that you can build in the world building tools, your creations can easily reach people all around the world, which automatically levels you up and gives you access to the world, which obviously is very helpful. So that's just that's a tidbit. I don't know what you guys think.
No, that's fine. We got 10 minutes left, so we're going to divide it up. Fanzo, you like to chime in on this?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's a really great, something for us to ponder, right? I think of the metaverse from the standpoint of reinventing learning, right? So, as someone that, myself being neurodiverse and, with the ADHD conversation, part of the, the real world, the neurotypical world that I grew up in, even learning, was not built for me, right? I was the kid that they would say, why don't you try harder? Little do they know I'm trying as hard as I can. Unfortunately, the output that they were desiring, or the environment that I was being told was that we had to learn in, was not really designed for me. And so I think, part of the answer to that question is, how can we use some of the emerging technology to reteach or reimagine how we educate some of the fundamentals of digital literacy, of technology, of telling your story online? And I do think part of that is, why are we going to go back and teach in ways that we know are broken, that we know are very limited, that are very siloed, and in many cases are very demographic driven, while at the same time realizing we can't really skip steps completely and jump from someone that doesn't understand their digital footprint or digital identity, and then having them kind of live in a VR, AR, metaverse type world. To me, that's like it's definitely a push and a pull. I will say that, like, when we think about Web3 or metaverse or NFTs, it's not about adding more digital to our lives. It's about increasing the value, the productivity of the current digital in our lives, right? And I think that's where a lot of people get scared, or they're like, oh my gosh, AI technology. Like, imagine if we were able to be more productive when we do have our device in our hand, or when we are on our computer. How many more things can we do offline? How many more things can we do as humans, as parents, as just connecting with others? And so I think that's part of the narrative that is tough, because part of this is, like, we have to kind of see the light, right? And I think the education has a long way to go. And the Web3 education, the nuanced that we talk about right now, like wallet creation and exchanges and all that stuff, that's going to be smoothed out over the next 2 or 3 years. So to me, I'm a lot less concerned about that. I'm more concerned with kind of what was just beautifully brought up, in that we do have to recognize that the playing field is currently uneven, and if we continue to reward the upper echelon and just kind of backwards feed the other side, it's never going to equal things, right? So we do have to kind of reimagine, I think, education, and hopefully that means using things like the metaverse to create environments that allow education from all demographics to learn in a way that's best optimized for them. So that's where I think of that.
Excellent. I'd like to get your input, Alicia.
Yeah, I would be quite short in that. I don't like the speaking only, perspective. I would love to see what we can do in that. And I love very simple and small steps. For example, we could take at least one person today or tomorrow and to share our time as a precious gift for them, and to explain what is the Web3. To open the MetaMask wallet to show how it looks like, to do, to show, to explain, to give the perspective. This is what I can do now or tomorrow, and to do on a basic level, just instead of, having all this conversation about. So this is what I believe, and thank you so much for the topic today and having a great company here around.
Oh, it's great. I like that applied knowledge. We definitely need to do that. And I like the way you stated that fans are talking about, we need to teach differently. We don't want to recreate the wheel that we're already on. Let's do something different. So Zeta, some final thoughts.
Yeah, I've been listening to my panelists, and all those topics are very, for me, I'm going to bring up the issue of fixing. So equality is when everyone starts to have the same resources in a playing field. If we can go back some of the infrastructure issues that, there are a lot of them, forward, we'll be in a better position.
Excellent. And Vanita, final thoughts.
I feel the world has a lot of potential, and we are together in this new Web3 family. So let's put together all our positive energies, all our excitement, all our hope for the future, because Web3 is the future. And very soon, the things that we would do in Web2, I think we have the possibility. The new door has opened, the horizon has spread out, and yes, let us actually give wings to all our dreams.
Thank you. See, we highlight. I'm glad we had this discussion, because you start to see, first of all, we have a beautiful tapestry of different people from all over our world. And we all have our different accessibilities to this environment. How do we get into this platform? And some of us, have great lightning speed, and bam, we got real time communication, and it's beautiful. But you start to see what happens when you don't have that accessibility, and that it's the communication is not matching up with the audio and the video and that kind of thing. And we start going into a even more bandwidth specific creation in the virtual world. We need to understand how that garbled communication, because if we don't communicate effectively, the other people get bits and bytes of what is truly the whole that we're trying to communicate, and it becomes skewed. And I'm going to mention some of the elephant in the room, because everyone knows that now we've run into a big issue with FTX and what happened, and then the crypto meltdown, and NFTs have lost some function. I will tell you, this exact same scenario happened in the dot-com boom and bust era. It took, I don't know, 3 to 5 years to really find the rhythm with what we call now Web 2.0. It was not overnight. The technology is sound, it actually works, but it still needs to be built out. Mobile technology was horrible like 15 years ago until they start getting into 4.0 and 5.0 as far as bandwidth throughput for mobile devices. So we're not there from an infrastructure layer yet, but we need to incubate the thoughts and feelings and design that we're talking about. So we have the time, so that, when you start talking about blockchain and some of the other technologies, that the DAOs, the DeFi's, all that, that's execution. But the fundamental idea, the strategy behind it, we need to work on. So when it launches, it hits home for all these other sectors that we're talking about that don't have accessibility. That you get someone that maybe has a disability, but yet they can use some of these tools to be just as effective as anyone else. When you start thinking about someone that's in Nigeria that can talk to anyone else in the world at a great and higher level than they ever could in a Web 2.0 world. The tech can be very beautiful, but we've got to match it with a beautiful human heart. So I'd like to leave us with that.
Awesome. Fantastic.
Thank you for everyone joining the panel today. And
Everybody, it was great to see you, Grant, for all your moderation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Vinita, you jump in for the last minute, but let's say goodbye to you.
The internet was so bad, but I'm here on audio. But yes, thank you so much.
But this is a reality, Vinita. You show up the reality for all of us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, everybody. Have a great.
All right.
Have a
Bye-bye.